Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to take you to the island of Grenada in the Caribbean, where Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell is telling the nation that for technical reasons, he and his government has not yet agreed or disagreed on whether or not they would let the U.S. government use Grenada's airport, which is Maurice Bishop International Airport, to store radar or spy weapons. On the other hand, Member of Parliament Peter David makes the case for why Grenada should never allow that to happen, because, in his own words, Grenada and the Caribbean at large is a zone of peace. As usual, like, share, and subscribe. And we'd see you on the next one.
The public has engaged in heated debate and discussions in relation to the disclosure that the United States government, through the Southern Command, has sought our permission to erect a radar at the Maurice Bishop International Airport. And I have both seen, observed, and have obviously met with significant questions and queries from the public about this issue. I just want to provide a little context, Mr. Speaker, as to where we are, so I can emphasize a couple of things. First, Mr. Speaker, we have ongoing security cooperation and arrangements with the United States and our regional partners on almost all aspects of law enforcement matters, including combating the drug trade and narcotics trafficking and the proceeds of narcotics trafficking through various legislative initiatives that are common to many of us, through many cooperation and regional institutions such as the RSS, CARICOM Impacts, the JRCC, the Gun Intelligence Unit, and other areas of cooperation. Sometimes the cooperation does extend to the U.S. Southern Command, which is the military arm of the U.S. Mr. Speaker, so cooperation with the U.S. is an ongoing and permanent issue, particularly when it comes to, in the case of the U.S., drug flow to the north, and in the case of Grenada and many of our Caribbean brothers and sisters, the gun trade to the south. The request to install a radar is part of a broader request for further security cooperation, some of which we've already agreed to, but which, because of the fact that we don't want criminals to know what are some of the arrangements for addressing crime, we simply cannot disclose publicly. The radar issue specifically, Mr. Speaker, I think the debate that is ongoing is a clear indication of the fact that this government was fully aware that because of the nature of the request, that it could not proceed to make a definitive yes, for the very reasons that we've seen played out in the public. Second, so we first appreciate that the Maurice Bishop International site, by its very history, is one that is historic, of significance to the public, and one that evokes a lot of emotive reactions. That's one. And therefore, clearly, we appreciate that the public will want to opine on this matter. Second, and perhaps more fundamentally important, the Maurice Bishop International Airport is a civilian airport, and therefore it is not equipped to treat with military-type operations. Third, any installing of the radar would obviously disrupt the operations of the Maurice Bishop International Airport, and we would need technical advice as to whether or not it was feasible or advisable to do so. And so, Mr. Speaker, when the Ministry of Foreign Affairs put out the statement indicating that we are considering requests, to a large extent, what we were doing is paying attention to the technical aspect of the request and whether or not such a request could in fact be accommodated at the Maurice Bishop International Airport. That technical assessment is still ongoing and has not been completed. The U.S. request included first an opportunity for Southern Command to assess the site. They have done so, and after having done so, they would have indicated that there were 2 sites that they were interested in. In light of the ongoing discussions that we've held with them on the technical issues, they have come back and indicated that they are interested perhaps in 1 site. They have also indicated, Mr. Speaker, that they wish to have a response by a particular time. We have not been able to provide that response for the simple reason that I've said, just from a technical point of view, we are not in a position to satisfy ourselves as to the safety and other technical requirements as to whether or not such equipment properly ought to be at the airport. The other fundamental issue that we have to consider, Mr. Speaker, is the fact that Grenada has no military, and therefore our cooperation with the US has always been in the context of law enforcement, and in the context of our own domestic law, and in the context of international law. And therefore we would have inquired as to the legal basis or framework upon which, given that this is a military request, that the request was being made, and we've entered into discussions on those issues which are not settled. So when we indicated that we're considering, I'm simply providing a bit more context and more detail, that is precisely what we have been doing. It's important to point out, and I think this is important for me to go on the record, to say that as Prime Minister of the country and the government we would not enter into any agreement which from a Grenada perspective has any possibility of violating Grenadian domestic law or violating international law. And as it stands right now, as I said, the technical discussions are largely what has been taking place. That is the update I have, and if there is a need for any further updates, we will provide it. I wish to assure the public that we will not make any decisions on this matter in secret and not disclose to the public. And in any event, it can't be kept a secret. You can't hide a radar.
In 1972, Caribbean leaders didn't create a military alliance. They created something different, something powerful. They declared our region a zone of peace. Why? Because we had had enough of being other people's battlegrounds. When Caribbean leaders gathered at Chaguaramas in 1972, under the leadership of Dr. Eric Williams of Trinidad and Tobago, they made a choice. Peace, they decided, would be the foundation of our development. Not military might, not foreign bases, not proxy wars. They chose us. They chose our children. They chose peace. The zone of peace isn't just a diplomatic phrase. It's a commitment that our region belongs to our people, not to great powers fighting their conflicts. It means international law, not war, dialogue, not military force. Our Caribbean Sea is the most heavily used in the world for trade, tourism, and fishing. Our islands depend on peace for survival, not because we're weak, because we're smart. For over 50 years, every Caribbean government, regardless of party, has kept one principle sacred. We do not allow foreign military installations that would turn our islands into someone else's battlefield. This isn't ancient history. This year, just recently, 10 former Caribbean prime ministers stood together. They reaffirmed this zone of peace. They reminded us why it matters. Because when superpowers want to use our territories for their conflicts, our leaders remember the Caribbean belongs to Grenadians, to Barbadians, to all of us, not to any foreign power. Today that commitment is being tested. When a foreign power asks to place military radar on our airport, backed by military personnel, it's not a small ask. It's asking if we still believe what our founders believed. The zone of peace isn't theoretical anymore, it's real. It's a choice we make every single day for our children, for our future. This is our inheritance, not something handed down from outside. Something we fought for, something we chose. The question before us now is simple. Will we keep it or will we surrender it? First we question, why are we having this conversation? Because superpowers expect us to trade our sovereignty for their war. Then we organize. We talk to our MPs. We stand with our neighbors across the Caribbean. Finally, we move forward together. we defend our zone of peace, not because we are against America, but because we are for Grenada, because we are for the Caribbean. The answer belongs to us, to all of us, as Grenadians, as Caribbean people.